Why are carrots, despite being one of the simplest kitchen vegetables, among the most challenging crops to grow in a garden? You meticulously prepare the bed. You then scatter those minute, dust-like seeds, filled with hope and anticipation. You irrigate them diligently every day, yet for 10 days, 14 days, sometimes even 3 full weeks, nothing appears. By the time the carrots finally decide to emerge, the weeds have already shot up, towering over them like bullies in a schoolyard. You begin the arduous task of weeding, terrified of pulling too close. You thin them either too early or too late, and months later, after all that meticulous care, you extract a carrot that resembles a broken finger, twisted, forked, and profoundly disappointing. Most gardeners resign themselves to this, accepting it as normal. They often claim carrots are simply difficult. They attribute the problem to their soil, to the seed company, or even to themselves. However, here's the inconvenient truth. Carrots are not inherently difficult to grow. We have merely forgotten the correct way to plant them. A century ago, professional market gardeners cultivated carrots for their livelihood. Their income relied entirely on straight roots, uniform size, and consistent germination. They lacked modern conveniences, such as plastic seed tapes, sophisticated irrigation systems, or endless hours for weeding. Nevertheless, their carrot beds consistently yielded thick, even, and almost entirely weed-free crops every season. They grasped a fundamental principle that contemporary gardening has overlooked. Carrot seeds are delicate, while weeds are aggressive. Therefore, instead of battling weeds retrospectively, they proactively prevented them at an early stage. Instead of continuous watering, they strategically captured moisture precisely where it was needed. Rather than loosening the entire bed, they engineered a perfect subterranean path for the root to follow. They didn't coddle carrots, they safeguarded them. In this video, we delve into ancient gardening wisdom and revive a forgotten method so straightforward, it almost feels like an unfair advantage. No chemicals, no incessant watering, no endless thinning and weeding, just 2 overlooked concepts. One resolves the issue of crooked roots. The other compels rapid, dependable germination. And it all commences with the preparation of the seed trench, not the entire bed. The reason why most carrots grow twisted has nothing to do with ill luck. It's a matter of physics. A carrot is a single, straight taproot striving to bore its way downward through the soil. The instant it encounters resistance, a pebble, compacted clay, a hard crust, it reacts by panicking, splitting, forking, or curling sideways, seeking an easier route. Most gardeners' immediate response is to till the entire bed progressively deeper. This effort is both exhausting and unnecessary. The experienced market gardeners of old employed a more intelligent strategy. They didn't amend the whole bed. They ameliorated the pathway. This technique is known as the sandwich method and is deceptively simple. Instead of tilling everything, you excavate a narrow V-shaped trench precisely where your carrot row will be. This trench should be merely the width of your hand and just deep enough to guide the root. You leave the surrounding soil undisturbed, firm and stable. Then, you fill this trench with a loose, stone-free mixture of clean sand, sifted compost, or an equal blend of both. This creates a vertical column of softness within the otherwise normal soil. Visualize it as a tunnel. When the carrot root emerges, it follows the path of least resistance directly downward, without any deviation. The surrounding firm soil actually offers additional benefits. It prevents lateral branching, maintains stable moisture levels, and anchors the root, preventing it from wobbling or splitting. This explains why carrots cultivated using this method grow straight, even in heavy clay soil. Now for the second component of the sandwich. After sowing the seeds into that soft trench, you do not bury them under heavy soil. Instead, you lightly cover them with the same loose mixture, just enough to shield them from the sun while still allowing oxygen to reach the seed. Why is this significant? Carrot seeds are minute. They lack the substantial energy reserves found in beans or corn. If they are forced to struggle through crusted soil, they will perish before they ever reach daylight. Loose material provides them with a gentle exit ramp. Already, with just this single modification, you have resolved half of the carrot growing challenges: straight roots, robust early growth, and reduced subterranean stress. But we are not finished. Because even with the perfect trench, carrots will still fail if the soil surface dries out. This is where the truly effortless trick comes into play. The one that forces germination in days rather than weeks. And it involves nothing more than a simple wooden board. Now we arrive at the aspect that seems almost too straightforward to be true. After sowing carrot seeds, most gardeners reach for the watering can and enter a perilous cycle. Water, surface dries. Water again, soil crusts, seeds suffocate. Carrot seeds reside in the uppermost few millimeters of soil. This zone dries out more rapidly than any other part of the garden. A single missed day of watering, particularly in windy or sunny conditions, can lead to complete germination failure. The seed swells, dries, swells again, and then expires. This is why carrots are notorious for producing patchy rows. The skilled gardeners of old permanently resolved this issue with wood. Here is the straightforward method. Once your carrot row is sown and gently watered, you place a simple wooden board directly on top of the soil, ensuring it lies flat, snug, and in contact with the surface. This can be a plank, a piece of plywood, or even an old shelf. Nothing elaborate is required. This board achieves three critical objectives simultaneously. First, it virtually eliminates evaporation. Moisture that would typically dissipate into the air is trapped beneath the board. The soil surface remains uniformly damp, day and night, which is precisely what carrot seeds need. Second, it prevents the formation of a crust. When bare soil dries under direct sunlight, it hardens like cement. Beneath the board, the surface never bakes. It stays soft, breathable, and vital. Third, and most importantly, it deceives the seed. Carrot seeds are genetically programmed to sprout more quickly when they perceive themselves to be buried deeper. Darkness, pressure, and consistent moisture send a biological signal. You are safe. Grow now. Under the board, the seed believes it is deep underground, even though it is planted shallowly. The result is dramatic. Instead of waiting 12 to 21 days, carrots often germinate in 4 to 6 days. No daily watering, no guesswork, no fervent prayers for rain. This is not a greenhouse effect. It is a moisture lock. However, there is a significant risk. This method is powerful enough to destroy your crop if you do not respect the crucial timing. This brings us to the most critical juncture of the entire process. The board provides life, but it can also take it away. This is where many individuals fail during their initial attempt at this method. Not because it is ineffective, but because it is too effective. From day 4 onward, you must inspect beneath the board daily. Why? Because carrot seedlings do not emerge like most plants, pushing up with their leaves first. They emerge as slender green hooks, delicate, pale, and desperately seeking light. The moment that hook touches the underside of the board, the countdown begins. If the board remains in place for too long, 3 adverse outcomes occur. First, the seedlings stretch sideways, futilely searching for light. Second, their stems weaken and collapse. Third, when you finally remove the board, they instantly scorch in the sunlight and die. A single extra day can obliterate an entire row. So, here is the rule the experienced gardeners adhered to. The instant you observe the first green hooks, remove the board. Not when the row is densely populated, not when it appears ready. The initial signs of life are your signal. And here is the truly ingenious part. When you lift the board at the opportune moment, you don't merely uncover carrots. You reveal something else. Beneath that board, weed seeds have also germinated, but without light. They are pale, thread-like, and incredibly fragile. They have expended all their stored energy attempting to reach the surface. Your carrots, meanwhile, are just beginning to break through. This precise timing grants you a tremendous advantage. The carrots are alive and rooted. The weeds are alive but defenseless. You have created a narrow window during which weeds can be eliminated before they ever become a problem, without disrupting the carrots. This is a deliberate strategy, not mere happenstance. The board doesn't just accelerate germination. It fundamentally alters the battlefield in your favor. And once you comprehend this timing, the final step becomes self-evident and almost effortless. In the next segment, we will leverage this precise moment to eradicate weeds so thoroughly that you may never need to weed carrots again. This is where the method reveals its true brilliance. Most gardeners combat weeds after their crops have emerged. By then, the battle is usually already lost. Weeds typically grow faster, establish deeper roots, and usurp light, water, and nutrients before carrots even have a chance to establish themselves. The astute market gardeners of old inverted this timeline. They deliberately allowed the weeds to sprout first. While the board rests on the soil, weed seeds awaken in the warm, moist darkness. They germinate faster than carrots, but lacking light, they grow pale, weak, and elongated. They are alive, but utterly vulnerable. This stage is referred to as a false seedbed. The moment you lift the board, precisely when the first carrot hooks appear, you will observe a ghostly carpet of white weed threads across the soil surface. This is not a failure. This is the trap closing. Now you have several options, depending on your tools and comfort level. The cleanest method is flame weeding. A quick pass with a flame weeder, applying just enough heat to collapse the weed cells, instantly kills 100% of those seedlings. The carrots, still largely underground, remain unharmed. The weeds never recover. If you do not possess a flame weeder, a very light surface scuffling technique works just as effectively. Employ the reverse side of a rake or a wire hoe, barely impacting the top millimeter of soil. Avoid digging or chopping. Simply eliminate the white threads. Precision and timing, rather than brute force, is paramount. Those seedlings have already depleted their stored energy, so their destruction at this stage prevents regrowth. The soil surface is then clean, settled, and renewed. What many find surprising is that following this procedure, new weeds are scarcely visible. This is because you have already activated the most significant wave of germination and subsequently eradicated it. Subsequent weed seeds remain dormant, shielded by the carrot foliage and embedded beneath the surface. Your carrots now emerge into an environment free from competition, with pliable, aerated soil, ideal moisture from earlier, and direct, guided root channels below. From this juncture, carrot maintenance becomes blissfully uneventful. A minimal amount of watering if necessary, no regrettable thinning, and no incessant weeding. The bulk of the effort was completed before the crop even surfaced. Carrots are not demanding plants. They are simply truthful. They promptly indicate when your soil is excessively hard, parched, or disordered. Contemporary gardening disregards these indicators, attempting to resolve issues later with considerable exertion and frustration. The traditional approach takes the opposite stance. A layer of sand directs the root, while a wooden board safeguards the seed. Time and patience handle the remainder. This method does not rely on elaborate tools or costly setups. It hinges on comprehending plant behavior during the initial 7 days of life, a critical period when all fundamental aspects are determined. Once you have cultivated carrots in this manner, reverting to old practices feels unimaginable. Observing immaculate green rows sprout from pristine, weed-free soil feels almost like an unfair advantage. However, it is not cheating. It is an act of recollection. A simple board, a modest amount of sand, and impeccable timing. These elements distinguish between misshapen disappointment and a harvest abundant enough to stock your cellar. Cease battling with carrots. Allow them to flourish as they were naturally intended. Subscribe to the Garden Lore Vault, for the most valuable gardening insights were never committed to books.